flag is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
That is the sound of showtime, folks. Hello, welcome. It is Tuesday night, which means it's time for the Extra Point. Kendall, what's up, my guy? How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. We got a Dynasty show, so that's already awesome. And we got a trade show. So I don't know any like Dynasty degenerate that doesn't just hanging with the boys, talking trades, talking shop. You know, if we could be at a bar doing this, I'd be happy as it gets. But we got YouTube and we got a mic and a cam. Let's do it.
I mean, it's just as good as a bar, I'll be honest.
The whiskey here is a lot cheaper.
That's also fair. And food's cheap. Yeah, it's good. It is almost Halloween, and I have to ask you because I have been asked this question, but I'm going to ask you first. Do you have a favorite Halloween movie?
Favorite Halloween movie?
Favorite
interesting
movie.
Kids are too young to kind of get into like the Halloween Town Disney kind of stuff. I would say Halloween time in my household usually ends up being like the festive seasonal when it gets cold movies, less than Halloween. I used to be more of a horror movie guy growing up though. So classic, like the OG slashers, like that's my shebang over there. But other than that, it's like where like I want to throw on like Draft Day and other like seasonal stuff. Like
I hate scary movies. I'm terrified of those things. I would prefer very much not to watch them. I'll be very honest. I don't sleep well. So I'm not a big scary movie person, which is why my answer is pretty darn boring. But I will share this. I also, after Halloween concludes, I like to, from kind of like the middle of November through Christmas, I like to go through methodically the Harry Potter movies.
I was going to say,
so I will get through like one Harry Potter movie a week. It usually takes about 7-8 weeks, obviously, because they're 8 movies, and that usually gets you from middle of November until about Christmas if you squish 1 or 2 in there. So that's kind of my it's Halloween, and I feel like after Halloween, it's like the holidays are kind of upon us, man. We're going to be watching football on a Thursday with some Thanksgiving food here, not too far from now. So but first of all, before we start the show, I want to thank a ton of people. I'm not going to name names because of privacy, but I do really appreciate the amount of trades that we received that folks wanted us to break down. And so I think that was awesome. Last Tuesday, Kendall, you know this obviously, but I wasn't feeling my best, and I just kind of said, I don't think it's going to be great if I have a voice like this, and I'm all snotty, and so we didn't do the show. And I put out a request on our Discord channel, through our Sleeper, and really anywhere I could. And I just asked folks, like, if you want us to break down trades, shoot them over, and we will get to them. And we had a ton of people reply and send us trades. So we're going to go through as many as we have time for. If you are in the show, jump in the comments, link us, a screenshot of what you guys have going on in your leagues, a trade that you are either considering making or you currently have pending, that you are either offering or have been offered. And we're going to break it down. This is one of our favorite shows of the year. And I just want to, before we dive into the first trade, I want to give this little caveat. Most of these trades involve players. Only a couple of them involve picks, which is actually great because if you are listening, and I'll put this out on the social channels and in written form as well here after the show tomorrow. But next week, Kendall and I are going to be breaking down picks and their true value and like what picks are actually worth, because it is getting to that point of the season now, week 9, week 10, where some of y'all's trade deadlines might start to kick in. And if they don't, they will start to kick in before week 13. I think is the last week that trade deadlines are allowed. So if you are not a contending team, or if you are a contending team and you want to move a piece, for a player, we're going to go through, what some of the real values behind some of these actual picks are, so that it's not just a number, assigned to, I have a 27th third. What is that really worth? So we'll get into that. But for right now, Kendall, let's start, and we will do this. We're going to address the format on every single one of these trades. I appreciate everybody submitting those, or the people that didn't, and I DM'd them getting back to me so quickly. So this first trade here, Kendall's going to produce tonight. There we go. So this first trade here, you can see on the screen, and for those that are listening on Spotify or Patreon, this is a 12-team half PPR super flex league with a half-point tight end premium. So for those playing the home game, the simple math would say it's actually 1 full point for tight ends because it's that half point plus the additional half point. So team 1 would receive Zach Ertz, tight end from Washington, and Christian McCaffrey, running back from San Francisco. Team 2 would receive George Kittle, tight end from San Francisco, and Luther Burden, wide receiver from Chicago. Kendall, I will start with you. Which side of this trade do you like, or do you think this trade is pretty even? And break it down.
Initially strikes me as relatively even, right? I could get into the minutia, but at first glance, right, I see premium asset, right? Burden more so valued over Ertz by quite a bit, but then again, McCaffrey valued more than Kittle, so I see the offset there. First question is like roster construction. Clearly, probably a win-win for both teams addressing an area of need. Sounds like they're both probably on a productive struggle, competitive situation where they're just flipping around positions. I think it makes a lot of sense. Generally, if I had to just throw gun to my head quick, I think that McCaffrey will hold so much of his value going into next year, most likely outside of injury or everything, that if you can keep McCaffrey this year and then sell, I think you're probably in pretty good shape. But generally, I'm probably taking the Kittle side. I think you can get more from McCaffrey next year, but in 2026, Kittle, with the way the wide receiver room is operating, Kittle's going to be a really big piece of it. And when healthy, I think he could go for similar to McCaffrey. People will see Kittle having a slightly longer career than McCaffrey possibly, and then Burden on top. Honestly, very even trade in my opinion. I'm such a sucker for CMC that I want that side. I think the Kittle side probably has like 5% more value, I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest. On first glance on this one, I had to catch myself and slow myself down because I went, ooh, McCaffrey side, not close. And then I went back and I said, okay, hold on. It's a tight end premium, number one, and number two, the age of these tight ends to me is what's interesting because to your point, like the wide receiver room in San Francisco is, let's assume everyone is healthy next year, which it's the 49ers. It's actually a safer bet to assume that they're not all going to be healthy, but we have to assume health. The wide receiver room next year should, as of today, no one's getting traded that we know of, should be Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall, and then insert wide receiver 3 here. But to my eye, and to yours, I would assume as well, as much as we love Ricky and as much as we like Ayuk, George Kittle's still the number one receiving option. And so to me, that's where I lean here is Ertz. Look, he may not be in the league next year. So in my mind, I'm looking at this trade because, again, we play Dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window. And I'm saying, okay, I'm probably a win now team if I'm team 1 here with the Ertz McCaffrey side. I am a win now team. Otherwise, I'm probably not making this trade. And I believe I'm getting a higher ceiling with McCaffrey, even though I'm getting a lower ceiling with Ertz. But I'm basically trading McCaffrey for Kittle and Burden. That's how I view this trade.
That is the trade, right? That is the trade.
And so I think if I'm a win now team, I like the McCaffrey side. If I'm looking long term in Dynasty, we don't know what the roster construction, to your point, looks like. I don't know what kind of picks this other team has. I would take the Kittle Burden side on the upside that, number one, I have an elite difference maker at a position with a tight end premium. Yes, I know injuries happen, and George Kittle is no stranger to that. But the contract in Chicago for DJ Moore, it's expensive, but I think the viewpoint around the league is enough people believe DJ Moore is a wide receiver 1, is an alpha archetype, that if he were to be traded, someone would inherit that contract. There are enough wide receiver needy teams. And I bring that contract up to say that leaves you with Rome Odunze, Luther Burden as the wide receiver 2, possibly Colston Loveland, And I don't know that DeAndre Swift's on this team next year. So give me the Kittle Burden side in a dynasty league. On the upside, that I have a difference maker at the tight end position. When healthy, he can win you a week. And the hope that I'm getting a productive wide receiver 36 in his sophomore season with the potential to get into that top 24 with Luther Burden. That's how I lean.
Yeah. And honestly, the last thing I'll add, savvy buy from the McCaffrey side, right? You're getting the 22 plus points per game that you want, steady Eddie. Like, you're really, like, this is not a, am I going to get what I paid for? It's like, no, you're getting what you paid for.
Yeah.
Right. But you are selling at, like, you're okay selling Kittle because you're like, I'm just way ahead PPG, right? Sure, I'm losing maybe a little bit of long term, but I'm fine. And Burden's not helping you this year, right? So to capitalize on your win, I just think it's a really savvy move. Like, you're letting go of the right type of assets the right year to go pick up McCaffrey. And I think it's as close to a win-win, I think, as I get. I like that there's not any picks involved. They just figured it out. Good stuff. I completely agree with you on. I'm taking the Kittle side, but you bought CMC for me in a similar place in another league, and for similar reasons, basically. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
And a year ago, let's not forget that I bought him last year, and then of course he decided not to participate in football right after I bought him. Thanks for that. I'll just add this really quickly because I this just came to me as we were talking here. I had somebody. I drafted Luther Burden at the 208, maybe 209 in a 10-team super flex. No, excuse me, in a 10-team start 2 half PPR league. And he had that week 3 game, I think it was, where he blew up and had the big touchdown and a bunch of yards, right? I think he only had 3 catches, but I think he had like 89 or something. Anyway, and I offered him to a guy whose number 1 receiver in a start 3 wide receiver league is Devonta Smith. And I offered him Luther Burden for a second because I have Roma Dunze. So I was like, great, I really don't want to have both. And the response I got back was, that guy fucking sucks. And I was like, dude, you're in a dynasty league. He's like, well, you can't draft him for a third and then try to get me to buy him for a second. And I was like, first of all, I drafted him for a second and I'm asking for a second. Second of all, that's what happens all the time. Players rise into. You didn't draft Emeka Egbuka at the 101, but we just did a dynasty rookie redraft show the other day where Emeka Egbuka went off the board at the 101. So, Cam Scadaboo was a mid-second round pick and we were taking him in the middle of the first round. So guys rise and fall. So just keep that in mind. Like, Luther Burden in outside of this trade to me is a good buy right now, especially if you believe that this team is going to change next year. And I do believe it's going to change. I don't know that Swift's going to be the guy. I don't know that DJ Moore is going to be there. So at the end of the day, Luther Burden, who doesn't have the production, I would offer a third right now straight up for Luther Burden. I don't think that gets it done. But if you could get him for a late second or 2/3,
yeah, you need a little sizzle on top.
Yeah, but my point is you're not paying a premium price for a player that could end up making a difference a year or 2 from now, and that's what you're looking for in Dynasty. So, if you are in the comments, if you're listening to the show, if you're participating in the show, please participate, jump in. We've got a ton of trades to go through, but if you have questions, throw them in the chat. We would love to answer them. Send it, like I said, send us a screenshot of a trade that you've got going on right now, and we will do our best to get to it. So,
we got some folks from our league in the chat, man.
Look at that.
Warrior Loft, by the way, lots of love. Warrior Loft probably had like 5 or 6 questions last night with me and Frank. So appreciate you being back, man. Love the regulars, dude. Hope you're having a good night. Hummel and Adam C in the chat. Commission my league over there.
Let's knock out trade number 2 here.
Let's do it. Let me pull trade number 2 up on a screen.
There it is. This is a big one. So trade number 2 here, 12-team, full PPR, super flex, also half-point tight end premium. The tight end premium doesn't necessarily matter a ton for the players we're going to talk about because they're both running backs, but it could impact the picks. So picks with a CKS, not a CTS. That's my aesthetics right there. Team 1 would receive Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, so starter and handcuff. Team 2 would receive a haul, a 26 third and a 27 first, second, and third. So we're talking about mortgaging all of your 27 picks, a third here in 26 for Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. Kendall, before I kick it to you, I just want to say this. Actually, I want to ask you this, excuse me. When you look at trades like this, do you just look at the total compensation, or do you try and evaluate Bucky's, in this case, let's use Bucky and Rachaad White, Bucky's worth and then Rashad White's worth to then see if the total compensation package is equal to what your value is, or are you just looking at what you're getting in return straight up for the trade? How do you like to evaluate trades like that?
I look at this mostly as White is a combination play. He's a modifier to what Bucky does in a way that like packaging makes sense, right? When you bundle as a company, like this makes sense economically outside of fantasy football, right? This is one of those things where White to Bucky gives him a better floor, and the ceiling outcome doesn't matter because when you're winning, you don't care about winning more, right? But it just provides you a safety valve. The more simple way to put it is it provides you with a larger range of favorable outcomes at very, very little to no cost. And so that's why it makes a lot of sense. I'm only looking at them as a modifier. I'm not necessarily assigning a ton of value. I'm really looking at you have to look at them individually and separate though, because what if the trade doesn't go through and you have to kind of know piece by piece how to make it work. So I'm pretty analytical when I go through it. I don't expect everyone to be that granular. The short one though is I'm looking at Bucky and I'm saying, okay, I will overpay by a touch because it's the right package and it's providing me a level of safety where if I'm in on the trade, this is where 2-3% value is not going to come into play at that point. But I'm not really looking at White as like a fully separate piece because his price tag compared to Bucky's is so miles apart that it kind of becomes nothing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I err on that same side. I'm going to bring a trade up that I didn't want to feature on the show tonight because it's chaos, but I'm going to bring it up for the purposes of illustrating my point here in a couple minutes. I think there are certain players that require you to break it down. Is this player worth this individually? If I were to set, basically what I'm saying is if I were to send you 2 trades, one for each player, would that total haul, and you accepted both, would that total compensation coming back to me be equal if I were to send what we're seeing on the screen, one trade with both players included, right? And so I'll bring up a real life situation. Kendall and I just traded in the league Josh Allen, and we were discussing Amon-Ra. And initially I had sent over Amon-Ra plus Josh Allen, and of course you can imagine what I wanted back for it. And Kendall, I don't know what it initially struck you as. It may have been overwhelming, like it is, like this trade that I'm going to bring up here in a couple minutes was for me when I received it. But we finally got to a point where we just kind of said, okay, the value here isn't equal. Let's just break this down. Let's take Amon-Ra off the board. Let's discuss Josh Allen. We ended up getting a deal done there for Josh Allen. So let's get to this trade here. We say all that to say this. In my mind, I have a 2.5 first round value on Bucky. Do we agree on that? Or are you a little higher? Are you a little lower? Are you 2 firsts? Is 2.5 kind of the right value that you
2.5 is a touch rich. I'm more like 2 flat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just a touch thinner on him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think when I look at Bucky right now, I like the offense. He's on a rookie deal. Rashad White's complimentary, but he could go away. Bucky's the guy. They're struggling without him. You can see the production that they don't have. Their receivers are older. Bucky's, to be fair, I think he's going to end up making the difference between Tampa Bay having a long playoff run and possibly going home early. That's how I look at Tampa right now. Defense is solid. And I know that's real football, not fantasy football, but I say that to say that his value does translate to a fantasy perspective. But Baker has struggled these last couple weeks, and I think it's because Bucky's not there. Yes, they're missing Godwin and Evans, and Igbuka's been banged up. But so let's go with yours because it's a little lower here. 2 firsts. So I don't see 2 firsts here in this trade. I also see a 27 first. I'd rather have a 26 first personally because I'm 2 years away from getting that first round pick back if I let Bucky go. And I'll be honest, you and I talk about this all the time. I don't care what Keep Trade Cut says. I don't care if you think that 2 seconds equals a first, because it doesn't. Right? It's just a numerical value. And this is why I think you all should tune into the show next week when we talk about what the value of picks really is. If I'm trading the entire Tampa backfield, because Rachaad White's been very serviceable. I have Rachaad White in a league where I have Bucky Kendall in that the newest Dynasty league we just started up, and Bucky has been out for me, obviously, and Rachaad White's been a plug and play. I want a player back, and I want picks that are sooner than the 27. So I would lean the Bucky White side if this was offered to me. If I have those two, I'm holding. If I'm offered this, I'm possibly countering, depending on if I'm playing for now or playing for the future. But I just don't think this is super close, even though on paper it looks like a lot. Half of the picks coming back to you are thirds. And that's not what I'm looking to sell Bucky for, let alone Bucky plus White. So do you see that differently than I do there?
I see the trade as a touch. Then I don't know where the projections are for this, but I can only guess. Obviously, the projected value or the ranges of where the picks could fall tremendously change the value. But we're generally saying someone is paying up their future to get Bucky and Rachaad White. We see Bucky is going to be great for 2-3 years, so their team should be in a winning window still in through the 27 season. I would expect, or at least not complete trash unless they did it on purpose. But why would you after selling your picks? So let's assume they're probably no better than mid. Yeah. I guess my biggest question is, right, so if I am selling my production, I'm with you. My challenge is 27 might have a big allure, but with the stock market, sometimes being in and out of the market, you can spin up value here and there, even if you're not. Sometimes we make bad trades. I've done bad trades with you where, like, I have a feeling and I just lose out on value.
Agreed.
It is what it is. It happens all the time. I would rather be the guy that says, I'm going to shoot my shot whether I win or lose. That's a more fun league to be in, fun to be right. And I'm right 55% of the time. You know, it's not always, but more often than not, for sure. In this particular case, if you're the rebuilding team, my question is, what are you, without 26 picks, you're kind of left in a, what are you going to do next year? Like, one, it might not be fun. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't know what you do if you don't have the players and you don't have the picks to the next year. I think you can do more. If you give me a ball of clay, I can make something with it. You tell me I'll give you a ball of clay next week, I could have been making and selling balls of clay, right? I could have had something going. So I think the 27 picks will be a better class. I think they'll be more valuable, but I think you can do something more. The picks can appreciate for a year. If you draft someone in 26 and you draft correctly, they're going to have a year in the NFL. You can sell more, sell higher. So I would prefer, to your standpoint, 2026. And if I was selling all the way to 27, I know 27 has this allure, but I would say for that much of a futures play, I want more tax. I would request at least an additional second, simply for the value offset of 06 versus 07 or 26 versus 07.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, and I'm going to pull this comment here. T Hummel 17, he is saying the team is his team. This is his trade, so appreciate. I took his names up, but since he's here in the comments, this is his team. It says my team's in first in points for, and so the picks are all his. Obviously, can't predict 2 years from now, but my team has a pretty high value team. So I think this is a good deal if you are the one who is trying to acquire Bucky and White for those picks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the better deal. And here's the caveat that we didn't talk about. Rachaad White is in the last year of his contract this season. There is a possibility he comes back to the Bucs. There's a possibility that he hits free agency, and there are enough running back needy teams that what if he winds up in a shit situation? You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff we can't predict, right? Like, of course, everyone's going to say, well, if Rachaad White hits free agency, you don't have to worry about a trade. He could wind up at the Saints. They need a running back, especially if Kamara goes. So, like, that's a winning situation if he winds up. If Kamara goes and Rachaad White becomes the guy for a season while they try, because the Saints have a lot of holes. We've talked about the Saints roster at nauseam.
He can catch passes. We can catch a lot of them.
But what if he winds up on the Chargers? What if, you know what I mean? Like
that probably came and went with the Vidal actually looking really good. I think people are like, oh shit, Hail Mary and Hampton. Is Vidal nice enough that became kind of something?
I mean, we all hope not because of the amount of investment we have in Hampton. But yeah, like there are more landing places that could be problematic for Rachaad White, right, than there are advantage. Now, the dream scenario is, the Jets trade Brees and Rachaad White becomes the guy for the Jets. He becomes the guy for the Texans. He becomes the guy for the Saints. Like, there's teams you look at, but what if he winds up playing for the Colts?
True. Well, a quick counterpoint, though. You can always say, look, if it's bad, how bad can it be because he catches passes? And he's
Sure.
if it's bad, he's going to a bad team, which means he can
Sure.
get the old. I remember when Ramondre had like 3 points going into a fourth quarter, and I'm like, watch this drive. This is going to be 4 dump offs for 40 yards, and there's going to be the game. The nice thing with White, I guess, to my point, is the role he plays and the fact that he's done it before. He's got an okay floor even on a bad team because he can catch a few passes.
Yeah.
That being said, it can definitely get worse. The thing I would say, I was gonna bring up one quick point about the other team. I want to defend them a little bit because I don't think this trade is it doesn't have to be like, it's not lopsided. I think
Correct.
the Bucky side is getting the value, I'd say, that the other guys face. But where I would do this trade if I were the other team, I'd negotiate a touch different. But if they have their own 26 first, and this is about max points for. This is hey, I'll burn a second of value because this is the difference between turning their 26 first into the 101 versus having too many points on the roster, and it being the 103. If this trade takes their 103 to the 101, you're fine losing the value because you've made more of it back, right? Maybe this is all they could find. So that's one reason why you might sell your 27 picks, because you're manipulating, or you're buying 27 picks, but in the process, you're manipulating your 2026, and you can't stack up your 26 picks plus someone else's 26 because you'll have roster space issues.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just want to, the reason I brought up some of the stuff I just brought up, right? Like Rachaad White's contract, obviously it's Dynasty. We know contracts matter, but like, I just don't want you to assume, if you are the buyer here, T Hummel and others who are listening who would consider this as well, because there's other options that would be valuable in other NFL teams. I don't want you to just assume because you're getting the starter and the presumptive handcuff backup that it's going to stay that way unless there's a contract in place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Probably go pick up Sean Tucker.
Right.
Honestly, it's not a bad idea. Just like, really double down.
Like I have to check Tyler Algier's contract, but like I wouldn't trade for Bijan and Algier unless I knew Algier was going to be there for the duration of the rest of the rookie contract for Bijan. You know what I mean? Like I get the appeal. But again, if it's not someone that's under contract, in this case, Rachaad White's out of contract this year, it's 50-50 on does he land in a great spot? And does he rise in value, right? Or does he kind of sit in the wasteland?
We all know that if you this is a big thing. If you want to level your game up in Dynasty, watch Phil's show. But
thank you.
Follow the money, learn contracts, learn historic patterns.
Yep.
Right. Don't get caught up too much in the news feed and the noise, but just follow the people that follow the money. It's a great thing. White's too expensive at this point from what he's done in his NFL career. When the lawyers get in the room and they negotiate contracts, they absolutely pull up comparable stats, player comp, deal comp. Rachaad White has a case to make some money, and that team has a case for saying we'd rather go with a rookie. Right.
Agreed.
It's going to make a good life cycle for him to leave and for them to pick up the next, Woody Marks, type of thing.
Yeah. I think we're going to pause here because I got a couple questions in the chat I want to get to. Rav B 1980 threw a couple questions in. Can you, Rav, if you're still in the chat, give us some context? League size, half PPR, full PPR, any tight end premium, 4.6 point passing touchdown. If there's quarterbacks involved, that'll help us as we get to your question. Kendall, let's scroll back up here. Warrior Loft. This will be a fun one.
Oh, sorry.
What can I get for Justin? Will you stop? Can you just pick the thing? Good Lord, man. I'm doing it. Stop. You're fired. What can I get for Justin Jefferson? Is it time to panic? I'm going to say no, it's not time to panic. I think you would probably say the same. So let's answer the question. What can you get for Justin Jefferson right now? I assume if he says, what can I get for Justin Jefferson, it means he's selling.
Yeah. I wouldn't sell. I want to answer the question, but the answer is just don't sell.
Yeah.
You don't have to, so don't do it. You could be burning as much as a full first round, potentially early even, of value if you just wait. I mean, that we were excited about the Vikings as a team. They have a lot of good individual pieces. They're the definition of, remember when the Denver Broncos were a quarterback away? Honestly, the Colts always were a good roster, but had quarterback issues. Now you're seeing that right now with just competency. I look at that team as they are a quarterback away, and he's young and he is going to the quarterback whisper. Give him a little bit of time, right? I think that team's going to look a lot better next year. Give this the growing pains. I wouldn't even trade. I would wait till the offseason. JJ McCarthy is going to be, people are going to want to steam him up because NFC North, points, quarterback whisper, offense, great weapons. What fantasy analyst isn't going to be able to connect the dots and say, oh, it's a Caleb Williams rerun. It's a mobile rushing quarterback, great weapons, nice offensive-minded coach. He will rise in the rankings, and people are going to get hot and bothered by a comeback to form for Justin Jefferson. So I'm waiting, and right now you're not getting enough. You got to get at least about 3 full firsts of value, and you're not getting that today.
Yep, that's the answer. I am finishing the third of a 3-year rebuild in one of my leagues. I believe I have 8 picks in this league, 4 first, 4 second. Maybe I have 9 picks. I might have a third thrown in there. I have Joe Burrow on that team. It's a single quarterback league. It's full PPR. I have Joe Burrow on that team, who's obviously on IR. And I've been trying to get Justin Jefferson's on my screen here. I've been trying to get Jamar Chase for a long time. And to be fair, the guy that has him wants 3 of my first round picks, which I think is a fair price. The reason I'm not making the trade is because I have so many holes in the roster because it's a full rebuild. I need the picks. I know not all of them are going to hit. That's the reality of it. So to Kendall's point, Justin Jefferson is in that same class as Jamar Chase. I think you need the quarterback to improve. I don't think he's at his max value by any stretch of the imagination right now. So I would hold and I would wait for him to do what he does best and blow up. And then if you really want to sell, max out the picks that you're going to receive back or the players plus the picks. Otherwise, ride it out and hope you win a championship because that's what should happen. Neanderthal 5632. Does Christian Watson have any trade value now that he's back? Not in Dynasty. Great, because the answer in Dynasty is no, he doesn't have much. When you perpetually live on the IR and you've played less games than you've sat out, the answer in Dynasty is stay away. I'm going to go quickly here, Kendall, and then I'll kick it to you. It's been one game, and it wasn't great. And Jordan Love threw for 5,000 yards the other night and, broke a Packers record. And Christian Watson was okay, but he's obviously going to ramp up. He's obviously going to take time. So I think it's too early to assess value for him. My last piece, and then I'll kick it to you, is I'm not a Christian Watson believer. Rasta, if you're in the chat, if you're listening, sorry, I know you love him. I would wait for him to have a blow-up game, and I would sell and get out. That's what I would do, because the chances he misses games coming up in the future is pretty high.
Yeah, for me, classic example of, as the owner, you're not taking him to market right now as is by any means. There's more outcomes where he could appreciate in value because it's nothing right now. And if you're a speculator on him, and I might be for Watson, because there could be something there, you're only speculating as a soft buy because you want to get a very, very good price. If you're the owner, the upside of what could happen in an offseason with pieces moving around in a less busy backfield, or he even gets moved or whatever ends up happening, it's just a hold all the way around. Neither side of a trade has enough information to make a good decision. So one side has to be hunting some fish here in order to get a good deal. And that doesn't feel fun. No one can make a firm bet. No one will want to. So I think it's a hold for both sides.
Yeah, agreed. 4 for 4 the other night, 85 yards, but only 56% of snaps.
I mean, good to see him healthy, right?
Yeah,
Step
so
one, but Phil, you often do here's what I'm watching the next game to see, and then here's how it happened. Do that exercise with him. This is if you're thinking about investing in this stock, do some homework. Watch the actual snaps. Watch, even when the ball's not thrown to him, how does he look? Look at the separation metrics. Probably need some PFF for that. But that's what I'm watching. I'm doing a little bit of early homework to see if he's investable. And right now, he went from not watchable to I'm interested. We're not buying.
Agreed. Well, and I will say this because I've got him on my screen here. Carolina this week at Lambeau. If he can get it done against Carolina, because then he's got Philly the week after and the Giants the week after that. So if he can get it done against Carolina, maybe it's a sell. Maybe it's a sell at that point. So let's move into one more question, and then we will pause the questions, and we will get back to the trades that we have pre-submitted. Rav B, 1980, my wide receivers on IR. Hill, Evans, and Neighbors. Ouch, man, that is. I feel your pain because I've got a roster that looks not too dissimilar than that one. Running backs: Christian McCaffrey, Bucky, Rashad White, Monty, and Aaron Jones. Tight ends: Kittle, wide receivers, Pittman, Dobbs, J-Mo, Jennings, Pearsall, and Franklin. Need 2 RBs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, full PPR. I'm guessing this is a sit-start question?
Looks like a start-sit question.
Yeah, because the rest of his stuff down here is about a trade. So let's just do this real quick because, to be fair, he asked. I know it's a trade show. Let's just do it real quick. I'm starting CMC and I'm starting Rashad White because Bucky's not playing this week. That's my 2 running backs.
Yeah, White over Monty.
Yeah,
that answers that.
yeah.
Fields and tight end. We need three wide receivers then.
2 wide receivers and a full flex.
We're flexing a wide receiver here. Pittman's my first in. He's
Agreed.
chalk.
Agreed.
Franklin's my chalk number 2. Is he's kind of taking over the 1B? He used to be the 2. Now he's the 1B next to Sutton. He's my second in.
Yep.
J-Mo, Dobbs, Jennings. J-Mo actually has a ceiling. None of the other guys have any ceiling other than maybe 10 points. I'm going J-Mo because if he doesn't hit, he's just like the other guys. If he does hit, he's 15 points clear.
It's Minnesota at home. It's in a dome. I know we got a goose last time out.
Team's a little banged up. I think you need some ceiling to beat a good team.
Yeah, I would. We're in agreement. I would play the same group. So, all right, we will pause. We will get back to some of your questions here. Please keep submitting them. So we appreciate that. Bucks are on a bye this week. That's correct. Actually, they are. Well, I guess we're not starting Bucky or White. I would start Christian McCaffrey. And
I forgot they are on a bye.
I would start Monty. So I would start Monty over Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Touchdown upside. Yeah, Lions. Okay. All right. Kendall, here we go. You got it. Here we go. This one's a big one, so bear with us here. If you are on the screen, you can see it. If you're listening on Spotify or Patreon, this was submitted before the Vikings played. So what I'm about to say comes with a caveat because Carson Wentz obviously going to have surgery on the elbow and go on IR. There's a 12-team full PPR 6-point passing touchdown league with a single quarterback start. Team 1 would receive Carson Wentz, T. Higgins, Kyron Williams, CJ Stroud, and Sam Laporta. Team 2 would receive Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson, and Jonathan Brooks. So keep in mind the caveat again, as I read those names, Carson Wentz, this trade was submitted before the injury. But Kendall, let's just say it's Laporta, Kyron, CJ, and Higgins for Jackson, Kelce, and Brooks. That doesn't change that much for me, I'll be honest, because Wentz, even if he's healthy, is going to transition back to McCarthy, and I assume he just goes back into a backup role, and who the heck knows what team he plays for next year anyway. Why don't you start us off on this one, and let's break it down.
Okay, so in this particular case, we've got a massive quarterback tier down. The quarterback we're tiering 2. I like that is a younger prospect that is kind of at Stroud's O-line's awful. He's got incoming wide receivers. The O-line literally can't get any worse. So the arrow has to go up because it can't go any farther down. We like to see that. So whatever the static value is today, I look at Stroud as a built-in appreciation player because unless he gets worse, it can't get worse for him. So that feels good. Makes me lean that side. Kyron, contract and the team looks good, and the quarterback isn't injured anymore. So there were a lot of questions about that team that feel a lot better. I'm positive on him. T. Higgins, I do feel like there's a value offset here where we all got really down on him and the team, but if he's healthy and even Flacco, I think there's maybe a little bit of a value. I like T as a target. Just delete Wentz for right now. Obviously, he was something for the time being. Overall, I'm in favor of it, right? When you're tiering down in Dynasty, you need to make sure that the pieces are punchy enough. One, you can't just trade for 1 billion of them. They have to have a real ceiling play that's tangible because you're giving up. You'll never get Lamar back. You'll never get that tier back. Some people go through Dynasty and never have a Lamar Jackson ever in their several lifespan. In this case, though, you're getting fundamental pieces, and Stroud can do better. So I'm liking the side that's getting the multiple pieces. There's a safety element, a known role, a predictable PPG. And if it's a 3 wide receiver double flex league where years like this, where you see you could lose 3 games, you don't have to during the bye weeks plus injury, things can get really dicey. Even Lamar's the injured one, right? It's at point. So the specific combo of T, Kyron, and Stroud, enough youth. There is built-in appreciation metrics for at least T and Stroud, in my opinion. it fits the bill. I'm not saying the other team got taken for a ride, though. They're getting more PPG now. Kelsey's looking fantastic. And if he has another year in him, that feels great, right? I didn't think he did, but maybe he does. And Brooks, I mean, something will happen at some point, whether he gets traded or stays with the team. I think maybe he has like a future like 1B situation in his cards, maybe. I don't know. Overall, I'm a better fan of the two. I think it's a relatively neutral trade, assuming Jackson's healthy. This trade was done before any of the injury stuff. So that's how I see it. I'm a big fan of quarterback tier downs. That's me as a dynasty player,
though. I'm gonna basically repeat. So this wasn't submitted in a DM. This was actually submitted in our live league chat. And so I'm going to kind of repeat what I wrote back in the comments of that specific league. This is a lot to give up for Lamar Jackson. That's how I see this trade. So if you're watching the show, you can see the trade on the screen. If you're listening to the show on the podcast, I'll recap it really quickly so you can just kind of visualize it in your mind. Carson Wentz, T. Higgins, Kyron Williams, C.J. Stroud, Sam Laporta. 4, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Brooks. Let's take Wentz out of the picture because, again, the injury, who knows what he's going to be doing next year.
I forgot Laporta was in there. He's kind of cut off on my screen.
Okay. So this is basically, we don't know what Jonathan Brooks is. We don't know when Jonathan Brooks is going to play, but it doesn't matter, and here's why. They paid Chuba. And Rico Dowdle has earned himself a contract somewhere. He was good in Dallas last year. He's been great. He's taken the job from Chuba. I mean, listen to the comments that Dave Canales is making, right? He goes, yeah, we love Chuba. We appreciate him. We've paid him. But Rico has earned the right to help this team win. And they're on a 50-50 split. And I'm telling you, Kendall, you know this. They're on a 50-50 split because of that contract. Because if Chuba wasn't on a contract, adios, motherfucker. I mean, he's out of there because they just don't need him. Rico is crushing it. So I bring those two players up to say Chuba's going to be there next season. I don't know if Rico's going to be there or not, but if Rico is, Brooks is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
Would you would have much rather I mean, this is low. It feels crazy, but I'm going to make it a little better. Brooks or 2/3?
I'll take the 2/3.
Brooks or 1/3? That says it all, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know because the talent says Brooks over the 3rd, but Brooks hasn't played NFL football. If my memory's right, he's played in one game. And I think it was 1/2 of one game. I'll have to go back and vet myself on that stat. But Kelsey's probably not in the league next year. The only way I see Kelce in the league next year is if the Chiefs get really close and don't win the Super Bowl. But like, this is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's won his rings. He's getting married to a global superstar. Like, what does he need to prove? Nothing. He's got nothing. He sold his podcast. Him and his brother, they didn't sell it, but they got picked up for like, what was it, $100 million or something from Amazon?
Yeah, it was. I think it was more. It was crazy.
Like, he's marrying he's marrying a billionaire. Like, there's nothing that he needs to do that he's going to accomplish in football that he hasn't already done. And he's at the end of his contract.
Don't let Noah Gray look better than you do. Don't do it.
Well, he did, right? And so it's like, I don't see Kelce being there next year. I don't think Brooks is relevant. So I'm giving up, if I'm team 1 here, a contract and a top 5 running back, top 7 running back on a bad season with Kyron. A QB2 with QB1 upside in Stroud. A young difference maker potentially at the tight end position, someone who has finished as the overall tight end 1. And somebody in T. Higgins that when Joe Burrow is healthy, we love T. Higgins. Yes, he'll never be the alpha because Jamar's there, but it doesn't have to be. And you're not buying T. Higgins if you were just trading for T. Higgins. You're not buying him to be a top 12 guy. You're buying him to be a 13 to 24 guy. And that's okay. So I do see this trade as lopsided. I'll be honest, if I was the person...
it is getting lopsided. I hate calling people out on the air, right? Like, I don't like to do
well,
it,
that's why I took the names off of it, right? But like, if I was the team that had Lamar and this is what you were offering me, I'm hitting accept immediately.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't think twice. I wouldn't even look at my roster.
I wouldn't either. Right? What I would say is this, because let's make this better, because in case the folks who submitted this trade are listening, and we hope that they are, what would you counter with to make this more even? Because if I'm looking at this the way that you and I have broken this down, Kelsey could be gone next year. Brooks, just take all your money and put it on green 00 on the roulette wheel, and that's what you have with Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah,
So
I want picks, man. I want
okay.
picks, and here's why. I'll get to the picks. I'll get to what level of them. Here's the picks. Okay, so that guy's got roster space issues. Like, what are you going to use the picks for? You just added a bunch to your team. Brooks was on IR, so you're adding 3 to your total roster spot. So you're dropping 3 players, and you have more picks. You have picks to give up, right? And your starting lineup is going to be deep, and you're going to have the depth. You're just not going to need a lot, right? So one team can definitely sell a couple of picks and give off a little bit. The Jackson player, like either Jackson is the QB 1, 2, or 3, and it does exactly what it needs to do, perfection, plus the Kelsey PPG in there. If it goes wrong, you need a safety net, right? If this goes completely tits up, I need some sort of a comeback mechanism before it's just actual bad and it's a 2-year rebuild. So I would talk to the guy and figure out, look, what can you give me? I need a safety valve, right? If this goes really poorly, because it can't go poorly for that team that gets all the players. I would want like 2 seconds, because I don't want to touch the guy's firsts. He's selling me Lamar Jackson. Firsts are painful. I would do the accumulation of picks. You're not going to need a lot of mid-range players because I just gave you all the ones you're ever going to need, right? Give me 2 seconds back, right? I'd have to really look at this, but where I see it right now, I need at least 2, and I can make that. Because I'm saying 26 and 27 second, and I can start feeling better about this. I would prefer a 26 second, a 27 second, and also give me a dart throw that I can spike with, because a third add thirds when the pieces are so big that a third looks like a pat on the back. It's nothing compared to the rest of the trade, so it's easier to slip in. If you can get their current second, their next year's second, and then one of the 2/3, you want your dart throw this year or next year, I think that still gets done, to be honest. I really do. That's what I would do. I don't even know if it's enough, but that's what
I don't think it's enough. I would want the first, and here's why. Let's just assume, for the conversation's sake, that what we see on paper is what it is. Kelsey's done after, let's give him 1 more year. The production hasn't been there the last 2 years. It's been better this year, but not great. It hasn't been the Kelsey of prime. And Brooks, I'm sorry, like I'm out. If I can get, I don't have Jonathan Brooks on any rosters anymore. I have him on 1 roster that I just took over.
Sell him to you live. You want him?
No, I do not. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like
we're both beating around the bush.
If I can get him off my roster, I would take Fab for Jonathan Brooks right now. I know that's insulting, and he could be great. And I loved, how I feel about when I make a prediction that bold, that I love to be wrong because I want these guys to succeed. But look, the kid hasn't played football in 2 years and he's in a bad spot. I would want at least a first and 2 seconds to come back, because if I sold you Kyron straight up, you'd want a minimum of a first and a second. If I sold you T. Higgins, you'd want either a very late first or probably 2 seconds. And I would say that value is
honestly low right now. It's a minimum first.
That's what I'm saying.
And a third minimum, actually.
So that's what I'm saying. You'd want probably a late first for T. Higgins.
He's a first and a third. Stroud's a first and a second. Laporte is a first.
So you're saying
late first.
Yeah. So you just listed off 4 firsts, and like you're getting the more. So I was very firmly on the side that this trade was lopsided. As we've talked this out, I do kind of think this is a fleece.
The more I talk through it,
it's hard to see it.
I think it's a first and at least 1 second away from fair, and I think it's a first and 2 seconds.
I think it's a first and 2 seconds
middle.
Because you're like if you were to say that it was Trey Benson instead of Jonathan Brooks, same draft class, similar draft capital, I would say, okay, I still need more, but at least number one, I've seen Benson play. He's on IR right now and should be back this season, probably in the next 2 weeks. Brooks and James Conner's probably done. And if he's not done, he's probably not on the Cardinals next year. So if he's not there, Benson may not be the guy. They may still draft over him or trade for a vet, but like Benson's still going to have some value. Whereas Brooks, I just don't see the path for him to have value right now outside of a trade to a team Like J.K. Dobbins. We all wrote J.K. Dobbins off for dead. He's done. He'll never come back from that Achilles with the knee injury. He had 2 catastrophic injuries in 3 years. But he had production that we saw on an NFL football field. And that's why teams are willing to take a chance on him, because they had seen something that they said, okay, we're going to give him what? I think he had like 2 one-year contract kind of prove it deals. And he's proven it right now. He's been great for Denver. But we haven't seen Jonathan Brooks play since the University of Texas. And last time I checked, even the Jets, as bad as they are, would still beat the University of Texas. So I'm struggling with this one because I thought it was lopsided when we started. And now the more we've talked it out here the last 8-9 minutes, I think you're a couple picks away. So
you should have this dialogue with yourself or with us in Discord before you do a deal of this caliber, by the way. Talk to 3 friends.
I said I'd bring this up because I got away from it. Let me bring this trade up. You can take that one off the screen, Kendall.
You want the ASB one?
No, it's something I didn't bring in the chat tonight or in the show doc because this was chaos. So I got offered this trade. This is one of my personal trades. I have Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, and Bijan on my team currently. Okay? Nico, Bijan, Henry. I was offered, ready for this? It's going to take me a minute. I was offered for those 3 players, Kenneth Walker, Huge, Kendry, Xavier Worthy, a 26 first, a 26 second, a 27 first, a 27 second. I was offered 4 vets, and I was basically offered 8 players, 4 vets and 4 picks. I didn't do the deal for 2 reasons. Number one, I couldn't even wrap my brain around that because it was just so complicated of like, what do I want for Bijan? What's Derrick Henry? Like, it was just too much. And also, I'll be just transparent. It's a free league. I'm leaving the league next year anyway. I just want to leave my team intact and let the next manager like come in and do his own thing and not have to be like, oh, well, I made all these moves. Good luck. For the integrity of the league, that's the right thing to do, in my opinion. So I'm not in a lot of free leagues, but I have like 2 or 3 of them that are left. And I just want to focus on like all my paid leagues. So I didn't do that deal, but like I couldn't even in 10 minutes like make sense of it. Like we could probably do half a show on that trade alone.
It's tough too, because how do you there's that element of like you're thinking it in your head, but how do you communicate how you're thinking about 20 pieces to a guy in an active negotiation? You're like, it's going to take a couple hours or days to like work through this. Like, is it even worth it?
I mean, like, I'll just do it really quickly. In my mind, Derrick Henry's got 2 more years tops, and I think it's not been good. It's been okay this season, but like without Lamar, it hasn't been the Derrick Henry that we even had last year, even last season. And I've never been a big Nico guy. I'll be honest. I'm just not, and I know, I know you and I agree on that. I know Mike loves Nico, and if I had Nico in a league with Mike,
on that one this year.
Yeah, I'm just not a huge Nico guy. So like in my mind, it's not an unfair trade. In fact, if you look at it, it's probably an overpay in the sense that like I'm getting better value out of it. But again, like I'm leaving the league, so I'm just like, I don't, I'm just going to kind of like do my best to get through this season and just like leave the team intact. But it was just too much. Like, so when you go through these mega trades, like take the time, right? Like break them down, really talk them out. So let's get through a couple more because then we've got a few questions here I want to get to in the chat. Trade number, Flacco Franklin. Yeah. So this one was interesting. This is a 10-team start 2. You have to start 2 quarterbacks, so not super flex. Half PPR, but it's a 4-point passing touchdown. Team 1 receives Joe Flacco, and Troy Franklin. Team 2 receives Joe Flacco. It's not sexy, but sometimes that's okay, right? Like the trades can't always be for Lamar Jackson, and Christian McCaffrey. Thoughts on this trade, Kendall, in a 4-point passing format, half PPR? I will give you this piece of information. This is in one of my leagues, and the team that acquired Flacco is on the outs of the playoffs looking in and probably needs some of the teams above him to lose to get in. So he's close, but I just don't. He's not a win now team. That's what I'm saying. Like he's not buying Flacco because this is the missing piece for him. I think he's probably going to miss the playoffs. So that's the piece of information for you.
I wish he hadn't have done that. It's one of those, like, if you're close to not making the playoffs, I don't think Flacco's. I like Flacco. I literally think Flacco's like a top 7 QB rest of season. I really do think that. Like, I love him this year. I think it's actually over after this.
Yeah.
And I'm just not in Dynasty. I'm a bigger fan of like, let's see what happens. Let's try and get lucky and eke our way in. Like, I don't think it really happens that way in deeper Dynasty formats. Like, really look at your opponent and say, like, how lucky do you have to get?
Yeah.
Are you really going to have to like get unreal lucky just to get to the finals? In that case, I would rather start making positive moves for my team to set up a better window where I can make it happen. So I'm not a fan. If they were a winning window team, I would like this. But here's the thing. Sutton is not getting any better at football. He's getting worse. Bo Nix is young. The team is good. Franklin has become the 2A, 2B to the 2 to like the 1A, 1B. Like, he's starting to kind of get up there a little bit. I know they paid Sutton, but at the same time, Franklin is open and doing more for that team on a game-to-game basis in bigger games. Sutton's the guy that's getting a cheap touchdown in an easy matchup. Franklin's getting it done in tough matchups. You tell me who's getting the ball in a high-leverage situation at this point. I think Franklin's got sneaky high value at some point. Like, it's in the range of outcomes. I think this is a little bit lopsided in that quarterbacks have a floor to their value, and it just is what it is. In this case, there's some teams where I paid an arm and 3 legs for Josh Allen from you, right? I did it willingly. I did it knowingly. You don't see me complaining. I know the guy I traded you dropped 30 on me after it happened, right? I knew what I was getting myself into, right? It was, as you drew it up to me, it's a league-winning play. It's not long-term value, but it is league winning if it works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
He's not winning this league, so it's just a bad fundamental trade. If I looked at the value, it's the right trade for the wrong team, right? The Franklin side's winning by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, I won't read you the whole roster, but I will just say this. Here are the running backs that he can actually play that will score him points: Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Nick Chubb, and Bill. He has Scadaboo on IR. He has Hampton on IR. At the receiver position, Amon-Ra, Rashee Rice, Khalil Shakir, Romeo Dobbs. He has Brandon Ayuk on IR. And that's pretty much it. He's got Bowers on IR or /out. He's got Gadsden. So he's 4-4. It's a league that, like, he's on the bubble for the playoffs, but here's who he's going to end up competing against. Start 2 quarterbacks. The guy that's running the league right now, no surprise, has Mahomes and Herbert. He has JT. He's got Egbuka with Waddle and Worthy and Justin Jefferson. You got my team with Josh Allen and Jared Goff. My running back stable of Achane, Bijan, Cook, and Gibbs with Jamar Chase, Romo, Dunze, and I have neighbors on IR. So it's like, okay, even if you make the playoffs, you're not beating either one of our teams. You don't have the ceiling, unless it's just everyone shits to bed on my team or on David's team. So, I just don't see a world. Excuse me there. I'm kind of with you. I think it was, does Flacco really push you over the top? Not this season, and it might help you make the playoffs. But if I'm not winning, I'd rather not make the playoffs. I'd rather just get an earlier pick. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I won't go into it, but that's a good point, man. Cutting your losses in Dynasty, it's a different game. I sent like a good old fashioned Kendall like multi-paragraph novel in a league where someone's basically, I hate my team, I want out. And I'm like, slow down.
Yeah.
You have Genty, it didn't work out. You're going to be the 101 2 years in a row. That sucks. But like the assets are all 23 years old and awesome. He just hasn't put it together. Yeah. I think like some people aren't built for Dynasty. They can't handle the different game. There's 2 game modes, right? This is a Nintendo Switch here. You're playing 2 games. There's the competitive struggle win now, and there's a rebuild. They're 2 very different games. You got to know what game you're playing. Yeah. But play it faster. Play the right game sooner.
Let's get into this one here. We'll buzz through these last 2 trades a little bit faster because we do have some trades that in the chat we want to get to, and we're getting close to time on the show tonight. 12 teams, super flex, half PPR. Team 1 would receive Rome, Odunze, and a 26 first. Team 2 would receive Amon-Ra. In a half PPR format, I have Amon-Ra at 2 first-round picks. In a full PPR, I would have him at 2.5. Kendall, in one of our leagues that we're in together, our newest Dynasty league that formed this offseason, I liked my draft. I didn't love my draft. This is not my trade, by the way, on the screen. I just bringing this up for information. I sold Amon-Ra for 2.5 first-round picks. That's what I'm basing this off of, social proof, and what something that I think was a trade that actually got done. So,
that was a good trade too.
Thank you. Yeah. I believe here Amon-Ra has more value than Roman at first, but I don't think it's very far off. If we're in agreement on that, what do you need to add to the Rome side in order to get Amon-Ra, or do you think this is a fair trade here as it sits?
You know I'm biased, right?
Sure.
You got to
take your bias out of it. Take your
okay. Okay, I'll take my bias out of it. I tend to play in a 3-year window for the most part, unless I don't have to. Like I can do some microeconomics too when it makes sense, right? Money is money, and sometimes winning in a 2-year window it pays some bills, right? So the way I see it is Amon-Ra is at a super peak ceiling, like he can't go any higher. Compliments to him, like he's just the guy, man. Like he erased Jameson Williams this year, right? Yep. As much as I'm about to make the argument that Laporte is good, JMO's good, Gibbs is good, everyone on the team's good, I just don't see a world in which it's good for the team for Amon-Ra to eat every day, all day. I feel like it's better for the team and the Lions for everyone to eat and to be more like the Bills. That being said, sometimes when you're that good, it's just the play, right? So I got to give Amon-Ra his credit, and I own him everywhere. In a DJ Moore-less world, I think Rome's that guy, right? I think Rome is like Nico, but better, right? He's just really good. I see him as a 10 target red zone phenom. So as soon as next year, he's not that this year, but I think as soon as the DJ Moore-less next year, I think he's there. So I'm on the side of this is a fair trade. It's just where you place in your bets. It's not about your Amon-Ra St. Brown take. It's all about your Rome take. Amon-Ra is the stablest portion of this. You know exactly what you're getting. No, you know exactly what you're selling. Rome depends on Caleb. It depends on what moves are made around him. You have to be like me to want the Rome side. You really have to, right? If you want to play the Bears are so volatile that the upside's capped and the downside's real week to week. That's where I'm taking my bias out of it. That's where you have to concede the fact that Rome's really swingy. And the Bears could hit a real rough pocket where his value could kind of be tied with that nasty Bears situation. It pains me to say that, but be careful when the team is ugly, but the player's great, because they can get drugged down with it in value, even if their production's good. Garrett Wilson, I've owned him a lot, right? His trade value has been horribly modified by the Jets. So it's about the Rome side of things. Also, where's that 26 first falling, right? If anything, you could base the entire trade off of how manipulatable is the first, because that's got swingier value than any of the pieces in it. And I think that tells it a lot. For me, on paper, it is a fair trade. As is, I would take the Rome in the first side, but I'm kind of biased and I can't get all of it out.
Yeah, I'll just add this really quickly because I don't disagree with you. I also love Rome, so it's hard for me. But Amon-Ra has been rookie season wide receiver 21 in full PPR, so still awesome even as a rookie. Wide receiver 7, 3, 3, and 4. And the 3, 3, and 4 is what I want to focus in on for two reasons. Not because of Amon-Ra. The first time he was wide receiver 3 in 2023, Sam Laporta was tight end 1. Last year, he was the wide receiver 3. Jameson Williams, I don't have in front of me, but
I know he's top 24. That's all I know.
JMO had a great season. That's the point I'm trying to make. And this season, even with all the pieces, by the way, last year, not only was JMO top 24, Gibbs was the overall RB1, and Amon-Ra still finishes the wide receiver 3. The narrative this offseason was, oh, Ben Johnson's gone. The Lions offense is going to suck.
Lost our center. Yeah.
I lost our center, did this. Yeah, everyone's a year older. Jared Goff, blah, blah, blah. He's the freaking wide receiver 4, guys. with the same quarterback, with the same offense, with the same scheme. I understand the pieces are a little bit different, but at the end
It
of the
was like
day,
young Devontae Adams, but he hit right away.
right away. So if I have this trade offer here, I want a second on top for the Rome side, and I'll kick back a third. That probably gets done. If not, I would say throw me another third on
That's
top of
exactly
it.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. If not, if you don't want to do that, then I would say give me another third as the dart throw on top of the Rome side. Because again, that offsets maybe the 107 versus the 104, of where this first round pick lies. So I don't think it's far off. You're certainly not getting fleeced, but
Yeah, this is
Caleb,
in the pocket. No one's getting fleeced here. This is really in the
oh, this is
pocket,
close.
but-
This is close. This is a really good, strong starting offer. It's not something I would take right off the bat because, again, as I said, I think Amon-Ra's 2.5 firsts. Rome's obviously a first. You've got a first here on the board, so you've got your 2. But
in a 10 team, this
10 team,
changes
it's
a lot.
closer. Yeah,
In
10
10
team is
team,
closer.
this leans way Amon-Ra for me.
Agreed. So in a 12 team, it's a little different, but
Because the depth is
again,
just important at that point.
yeah, and like we said, like Caleb and the Bears are a little bit shaky. Golf and the Lions they're roaring, man. So let's finish it up here. Last one that was pre-submitted, we want to get to. This was actually mine.
This was yours?
This was mine. I received this and I wanted to talk it out for the simple purposes of Emeka Egbuka.
Spicy.
So I have Egbuka. This is a 12-team Superflex half PPR league. So in half, I do tend to weight the running backs a little bit higher. But Josh Jacobs and Terry McLaurin is what I would have received. I would have sent away Egbuka. We did a redrafting the rookies show a couple weeks ago. Egbuka was the 101. That's exactly where I have him ranked in my rankings. I'm not selling Egbuka for any. I at this point, Kendall,
This trade's off.
would you put? Well, that's why I didn't take it. But would you put? Have you seen enough from Egbuka to put him just outside the neighbors, Rome, Amon-Ra tier? Do we have Egbuka as the wide receiver 7? So I would say Chase, Jefferson, Puka, Amon-Ra, neighbors. Let's just say that's the top 5 because that probably is the top 5.
Let's take a look here.
Is Egbuka going to be slotting in 6 through 10 based on what you've seen ahead of Drake London, ahead of Garrett Wilson, ahead of Rome? Because that's where I have him. I'm just going to be honest. I would have him about wide receiver 6, 7 in a dynasty startup for the wide receiver rankings right now in any format, half or full.
That's a little bit rich for me.
Okay.
It's not far off. It's the particular names. I think Egbuka is awesome, but I also see him as the guy that where everyone's like, oh my, he's never going to be Devontae Adams. He's awesome, but he's also the guy that's just, he's Tyler Lockett good. He's NFL ready, very savvy, very good, but he's also not like, I hate saying this about him. I don't think he is that like, holy shit, he is big, tall, and fast. Like, that's why I can't get him over Rome. Rome has the size, speed. Egbuka's not an X, right? Like, he's not mossing anybody anytime soon. He has to get that savvy separation where he's stacking the defender, right? I think that has some limitations in terms of your like world beater, right? But where I look at him more at like the Amon-Ra type, where he's like, he's always a good decision for a quarterback to throw him the ball. Always. Like, even in double coverage, he'll find a way to be too damn crafty. So I guess where I see him is I got to tuck him just behind like JSN. I basically
JSN.
have him. I have him at like 11 or 12. I'm juggling him and like Drake London. Like, I think I want him over Drake London right now. That's where I'm at. I want him over Ladd. I want him over Drake London. I want him over Nico. But I'm stupid bullish on Rome though.
So I could get behind putting him behind JSN. I would have put it this way. If I'm in a startup and I'm on the clock and I'm staring down Drake London and Egbuka, that's a difficult pick.
Yeah. I think I'm Egbuka right now. I really do.
because what we've seen from Atlanta is not like Penix is not good.
No.
And Cousins is awful. And Cousins is gone. I mean, other than the contract. But like,
I've seen enough of Penix at this point to just permanently, he's not going to be NFL good. He could start in the NFL, but he won't be NFL good.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, right? Like, Ibuka is going to be attached to Baker on a contract where he's going to be the guy. I mean, Cooper Kupp wasn't mossing anybody, and he finishes the wide receiver 1. Same profile, same high, almost the exact same profile, right? Like Cooper Kupp, 6'1", 205. Emeka Ibuka, 6'1", 205. Like it's a scary comp in that sense of like JSN, 6 foot, 197. I think JSN's faster. He is faster. He's twitchier. So like there's more to his game in a route tree than there is for Ibuka. So I can get behind JSN being in there. So that's going to drop Ibuka to 6/7 in my rankings. But I don't think Ibuka and Ladd are in the same tier.
Yeah, no,
not right now.
You know, I like Ladd's a riser for me, but he's never getting to.
But
the
after
Ibuka
you get out of that,
level.
after you get out of that group, who are you looking at now? Right now, you're talking about Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, that flat tier, Zay Flowers. You know what I mean? Like DK Metcalf. Like
Right.
that's the flat tier, and I would take Ibuka over all of those guys, all of them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at ECR right now to see kind of where he's at. So
Let's not spend a ton of time on this one because I know we're getting long here in the show, and we've definitely got a couple folks who are still in the chat hanging out that want their questions answered, and I want to get to those. But I think it's hard for me to say that it's just hard for me to say that Ibuka is, based on what we've seen and based off what we projected, and we projected Ibuka to be good because we said eventually Mike Evans and Chris Godwin won't be around. Well, eventually has become now because Chris Godwin and Mike Evans aren't around. And even when they were, I mean, Godwin hasn't, but like even when Evans is there, Ibuka's been that dude. Baker's on a contract, great offensive line, winnable division. So I'm gonna stand pretty pat on this one and say that I'm gonna have slot Ibuka in at wide receiver 7. Behind the big 5, I'll throw JSN in the big 6, and I'll throw JSN in there. So I'm going to put him at 7, and I'm going to stand pretty pat on that. I know you love Rome, and I'll give you Rome, and your ranking's higher than mine, sure. But like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say sorry, actually. I would take Ibuka over Garrett Wilson in a heartbeat, unless the Jets go out and sign some fantastic quarterback, and you tell me where they're getting a quarterback off the street because no one's available in free agency.
Yeah.
Dak was the last quarterback.
Deep quarterback class, so you gotta hope that's the thing.
Yeah, but what are you hoping for? The next Jackson? I mean, like, what if Jackson Dart was in the Jets instead of the Giants? Is Garrett Wilson all of a sudden a top 5 wide receiver? I don't know. Maybe.
It's tough, right? Honestly, it's tough with Garrett Wilson because I think you and I both know, like, if he got to just like guest as a wide receiver for a good quarterback, like, I don't think we're questioning the talent. I think we're questioning the Jets are more than a quarterback away, I think is what we're trying to say.
If you put Garrett Wilson on if you had flipped Garrett Wilson and T. Higgins, and Garrett Wilson was somehow in the mix there with Burrow, you could potentially, and I know this would be very statistically almost impossible, but you could potentially have 2 top 5 wide receivers. That would be assuming they would never ran the ball. They never ran the ball. They would just throw it every play. But here's my point. This wasn't meant to be a Garrett Wilson take. The guys that we like, whose situations are not as good, I think Ibuka, even though Garrett Wilson may be a better flat-out wide receiver than Ibuka, you can't get away from that situation there in Tampa, man. You can't right now.
We do it a running back all day where we're like, he's good, but the situation's bad. Like,
yeah,
we play fantasy football. It's our sport. We have to look at different metrics and analytics and decision-making processes, and him being tied to Baker is a big deal.
Big deal. Real big deal. All right, let's lightning round some of these. So let's scroll back up here. Adam C. What is your thought? Excuse me. What is Tyrone Tracy's worth now? What are your expectations for him rest of season? I'll let you go first.
My expectations. I'm going to be real. I think this is a slight trap like people are going crazy as the overall, like I do think he's the top waiver wire pick, but a lot of that has
100%,
to do
100%.
with the offense is good. Jackson Dart is good. The team is doing well. Running back is so much more about situation in the NFL. They're
Yep.
all very talented. They're all NFL athletes. So they're all really good. You can mix them up a little bit. I think the team was okay. And he was kind of disappointing in a few different ways. He did pop a little bit last year, showed some pop in the receiving game. The telling thing for me, and this is my personal take, I could be very wrong on this. I didn't like that Scadaboo just took the job and it wasn't close, which tells me that practice wasn't close. It wasn't a timeshare realistically ever. It was just over. And if there was still something left for Tracy, if anyone saw him as an NFL running back, I just don't see why it would be all Scadaboo all of a sudden. So for me, that's like, I think they rushed him out of that room super fast. And so that bothers me a little bit. Do I think he can take that role and do well with it? Probably. Rest of season, though, I barely have him as a top 24 running back. I kind of have him with like Bam Knight level production at the point. So I see him as a 10, 12 point a game guy.
Interesting. So I'm going to take this two ways. Number one, I sold Tyrone Tracy in a league this year where I was super running back heavy. And I fat fingered my own trade and I was meant to ask for 2 seconds, which may or may not have gotten done. But at the time, it was before the draft. It was actually after the Super Bowl when Tracy was hot. And everyone was like, oh, the Giants are a potential for a landing spot for a running back. And that's what I was banking on. And I fat fingered the trade and I sent it for 1 second. I was like, shit, I should have got more.
Oh, damn.
And now I feel okay. Because Scadaboo just, you're right. He basically just ran him out of the building. And I don't think if you were to offer before the injury, I don't think you would have gotten a second for Tracy if Scadaboo's healthy. So I feel okay about that trade. What I will say is this. There is no Neighbors. There is no Scadaboo. I think Tracy rest of season, here's what I'm doing with him. I won't say which league because I know there's some people that are in the league that I'm in that are listening to this show right now. One of them is texting me. I'm about to drop a significant amount of fab in a redraft league on Tyrone Tracy.
You should. I do think you should.
Correct, because he's the obvious hot waiver wire pick. And if I win him, and I think I have a real, based off what I believe this league historically is bidding on guys and what I'm going to bid, you know this because we were talking about this in the group chat today. I'm going to try and flip him. So to answer your question, Adam, see, if you're in a redraft league and you can go with Tracy plus, I think you can go up. I think you can go try and find yourself a higher tier running back. In a dynasty league, I would do exactly what most people are thinking, and this is the problem, is I think most people are thinking this, so this may not get done. You're waiting for him to pop off, and you're going to sell because Scadaboo's going to come back and most likely inherit the job, and things are going to go right back next year to the way they were the first 8 weeks of it. Well, the last 7 weeks of this season. So the problem is if you've got savvy people in your league, they all know that, right? So I Kendall, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I like these shows. I listen to a lot of content, but the problem on some of these shows is like they say these trades, but then you're like, that trade's not going to get done. No one's going to do that trade.
One more show says, well, before you drop him, try to trade him to somebody that you hate and don't want to go to his birthday, or try to get a 2-for-1 trade because all your friends are really okay with you saying to their face that they're dumbasses.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So it's like, that's what we talk about all the time on this show is like, we want to give you trades that can actually get done or have already gotten done. And that's why we're bringing them up. So I think expectations rest of season for Tracy, if you're going to hold him, yeah, he might have a couple weeks where he falls in the end zone twice and gets you 18 points. But yeah, I think 10 to 12 is probably fair. And hopefully if you grab him, package him with something and try to go up.
Like, who does he feel like? I feel like he's going to be like Chuba Hubbard now that Dowdle's there. I feel like he's going to be like a Jordan Mason. The team's it got some inefficiencies at the run game. He'll be like Kenneth Walker. You want him to be better, but
I would comp him to Jalen Warren.
That's a good
Jalen
one.
Warren. You think Jalen Warren has all this work, and he does, and you want him to have all these opportunities, and he does, but the production's just not there.
Warren without 4 targets a game is a little meh. Tracy won't. What's his box score going to be? His Vegas line is probably not going to be more than 65 rushing yards. It's probably going to be about 62, 63 rushing yards.
50. I was going to go on the lower end of that. I was going to go 57, 56.
Could be, yeah. And then
half.
throw, what's his receptions going to be at 2.5?
2.5. That's exactly right. Yep. Rav B 1980. I hope he probably was born in 1980. And if he was born in 1890, good Lord. He says, I got offered to trade Kittle and Monty for DK and Kenneth Walker. What's your thoughts on it? He adds that it's a full PPR 10-person league. I'm going to assume it's not tight end premium. Otherwise, he probably would have said it. Would you rather no tight end premium, just full PPR? Would you rather Kittle and Monty or DK and KW3?
I'm going to go. Wow. I'm going to go DK and Kenneth Walker. I think Monty has a pretty rough depreciation curve coming next season. I no shame against Kittle here, even TEP, but I think Kenneth Walker is still just really young. I know this season's disappointing, but Dynasty 2-3 year window. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 to 3 years, but I do know that in 3 years, he's still only 27. Only 27. That's 3 seasons from now. There's just a lot that can happen between now and then. He can get traded. Sharps could get traded. Injuries could happen. Kenneth Walker feels like at a low point. I don't see a high point coming, but the DK Kenneth Walker, their age is just reasonable enough. And the Kittle Monty feels like just Kittle as of next year, where I am at with Monty. It's close. I do think it's an okay trade, but there's so many tight ends that I like that are cheaper at the position where Kittle has to smash for me. And I know it's close. There's so many names where I don't like in the trade. That's why sometimes it's tough to evaluate and you're like, this feels gross. I don't know. Where are you at? I'm at DK.
I'm going to take the DK KW3 side, but for a different reason. They're both the one in their own team. Monty's not.
Yeah, he's kind of. You got to play the matchups with Monty, which is not.
You got to play the matchups with Monty, but it's like last year it was, it was like feast or eat. This year I feel like it's feast or famine for Monty. Like there have been games where he's disappeared.
And he's needed the pass catching to help him, which I never thought would be a thing, but he's kind of needed it. Yeah.
All right, let's move on because this is a really good one, and I think this is pretty close to ending the show here. This one's interesting, man. I did just get a text from a buddy of mine, so if we have time, we'll get into it. He just shot me a trade question in my phone. But D Premier is asking, this is a good one, JJ for Neighbors and a second in a rebuild. I assume if you're in the rebuild, you're taking Neighbors in the second because the rebuild suggests you want the pick. Let me ask you this, Kendall. Let's say, because we talked about it earlier in the show, let's say everyone's healthy and everyone's quarterbacks are performing. So you've got a good, solid QB2 in JJ McCarthy with that offense with Justin Jefferson, and you have let's say high-end QB2 in Jackson Dart, because Jackson Dart's been good. He's been really good. I won't say great because he hasn't been great. He's been really good. That's what he's been. He's been really freaking good. A Jackson Dart with Neighbors and the second. Is that fair? Do we need anything else? Because we just talked about it. JJ and Chase are in their tier, and then I think Neighbors is not in the same tier, but he's definitely in that next tier, with Puka at that 3, 4, 5 ranking there at the wide receiver position. So thoughts on this one?
It's fair enough in that, like, the second needs to be there for aesthetics, but this is completely all about who actually does better, right? That being said, you still have to value the trade appropriately. I am if I'm taking your premise, which is everything's all in the up and up, Jefferson's just too good. And he's also like sentimentally, like, we're all ready for Neighbors to be the guy, but we're not going to talk about him for several more weeks. And he's going to be coming off of an injury next year. That can just have him. Different people's bodies work differently. Some people heal well, some people don't. I don't know how Neighbors does. I know he's frequently injured. I don't want to get down to Neighbors. I have a lot of them. I spent a lot of money on Neighbors from old Philly boy over here. My God, thank God I had enough picks in that league. I believe
that was 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I like Neighbors, but he's not Jefferson until he is Jefferson. And if that team spikes up the way we all thought it would this year, it's going to be Jefferson, and that's going to be a little bit of a short on Neighbors. Here, the big thing for me, the question I was asking myself is, what is the draft pick situation? Like, if I can turn my 10 whatever into the 101 by getting points off my roster, this is so worth it. The difference between the best player in next year's draft, like if I can get Jeremiah Love versus somebody else because I did this trade, I want that, right? Like it's all about what's my next year draft capital. What if I have my first, second, and third and fourth next year, and I can turn my 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 101, right? That's a better first, a better second, a better third. So would I do this to increase those picks? What's the value of trading up from the 103 to the 101, from the 203 to the 201? You put it all together, it's way enough for this trade to pay off.
Yeah,
But it has to be that for me. Otherwise, it's Jefferson all day, and I need Neighbors plus. I need a bunch of picks. If I'm going to do this trade straight up, I need 2/3 too.
I mean, to me, it's like we're going to talk about the value of picks next week. And for those that have listened to the show for a long time, or for those that have been in leagues with me, and Kendall knows this probably better than anyone because he and I have been doing this a long time together. I only want ceiling. You look at most of my rosters, it's my starters are studs and super top heavy. I might have a 1 or 2 extra, guys on the bench that I can throw in, but the rest of my roster is pretty much bottom of the barrel because I want the Justin Jeffersons and the Jamar Chases and the Bijan Robinsons, and I want the elite talent because they can do 2 things for you. Number 1, they can win you a week. Number 2, if shit goes sour and really, really south for me really fast, they hold the largest resale value. I'm not saying Neighbors doesn't hold an incredible resale value, but I would take the Jefferson side of this. I do think it's fair. I don't think it's that far apart. You're certainly not getting fleeced. The caveat to me is this, and then I'll move on. That second could bust. Any pick can bust. And I know we talk about all the time, we have to presume health. We have to presume that the guys we draft are going to become the next thing at their position. And that is true. So there is that set side of it, right? I told you, Kendall, you know this. I for the listeners, I drafted Devon Achane 1 pick ahead of Jonathan Mingo, and I had buyer's remorse. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I let it sit for a couple days. Could you imagine if I had traded Achane for Mingo? Because I tried to do it. I thought about it. I called my buddy and I was like, let's just swap guys. Because he wanted Achane and I had wanted Mingo, and I ended up drafting Achane. And it was in the second round. So if you trade Neighbors and the second round becomes the next Devon Achane for Jefferson, you're fucking stoked. Mm-hmm. But if you trade Neighbors and Jonathan Mingo for Jefferson, you've basically traded Jefferson for Neighbors. And I'd rather have Jefferson in that case. So that's how I look at it. So last one here.
Oh yeah, you may have to get to, only because it's a real trade that Depp has in my inbox right now. I might have to get your take on the.
Is this a real trade?
On the Chase Brown, not the Prime one.
Oh, where's the Chase Brown one?
Here, I'll scroll up a little bit. I'll put that.
I missed it.
Here, Prime. We'll get to you in just a second, buddy.
All right, yeah. Last two, then we're gonna wrap this.
What do you think on this one? This has been in my inbox, and I've kind of mentally said no to this because I'm just super in on Scattaboo long term that I can't do it.
Chase Brown for Scattaboo in a third.
I own Scat. He's done for the season. I'm doing that. I'm not going to win this league. My team's like, this is this first year of it's kind of rebuilt, but it's not there yet. So I could continue on. Let's see what I can do this year if I flip him for Brown. I'm leaning no. You want to talk me into it? I think it's more Chase Brown in a third for Scattaboo at a minimum, personally.
The reality is, when I look at this trade, I see it this way. Scattaboo obviously is done for the year. He doesn't help you. You have to give me 1 second because I've got him in a league. I want to pull him right here. I'm going to just say, for the argument's sake, because it makes my point that much stronger, but Chase Brown had, and this is a half PPR league I'm looking at, he had 12.1 points week 1. He had 11 points week 7. That's close enough to 10 that I'm going to round down because the rest of the entire season, he has not eclipsed double-digit points until last week. He has 2 touchdowns on the season. I know there's some hope with Flacco, but the offensive line in Cincinnati is bad. I just don't know how much Chase Brown is. Obviously, he's helping you more than Scatterboo is, but like at Pittsburgh, New England, and Baltimore's defense is a joke. At Buffalo, Baltimore again because it's their division, Miami, Arizona. So he's got a favorable schedule coming up.
I don't
But
think I
like,
want to win this year, though. If I
but that's
look
the
at my
thing. It's
team,
like
I'm at
that's what I
the.
was just gonna say. Like
I shouldn't be doing this.
you're not getting premier Chase Brown until next season when Joe's back. No, not Burrow, not Flacco. Sorry, I assume we all knew what I
Don't
meant.
do
but
that
then
to Burrow. Man.
No, Joseph, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, come back to us. Play football with all
Seriously,
the toes,
man.
You're not getting premier Chase Brown until Joe Burrow walks back in the building and is a threat. No disrespect to Flacco, he's competent and he's been good enough, but I would stick with Scats. Because here's the other thing, man. On that team, Chase Brown is a good pass catcher, but he's still. I mean, this isn't a Christian McCaffrey where they're throwing it to him every time because they got T. Higgins and fucking Jamar Chase over there. And Neighbors will come back, but yeah, I would stick with Scatterboo in the third. It's not a bad trade.
He's good. He commissions like 5 dynasty leagues. I need to get you two together on like.
We should. Yeah. No. This is a good trade. It's a good trade. It's good architecture. If you want to build something out of it, I don't think it's unfair at all. It's just, do you want to win this year or next year? And if you want to win this year, I just don't think Chase Brown is helping you win this year unless your team is just that much ceiling that Chase Brown is elevating you from.
It's not
Tyler Algier, Trey Benson. You know what I mean? Like if that's your arc, because you've lost Hampton or you've lost.
I'm starting RJ Harvey.
I mean, RJ Harvey.
Not winning this year. I'm also starting Rashid Shaheed every week with Olave.
Yeah, I'd keep Scatterboo in the third. So
don't get me wrong, my team's overproducing on a couple weeks, but I kind of need my pick 2 places higher. I might as well just burn the team this year and re-roll.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to one last one here. Prime GTSS. I traded Hunter Henry, Tyler Warren, Ibuka, and Swift for. Okay, so Henry, Warren, Ibuka, and Swift are off his roster. He got JSN, Bijan, Debo, and Kenneth Walker. I'm not going to read his bench and his team right now just because I want to focus on the trade part first.
Oh, this is a massive deal.
This is a huge trade. Yeah, this is one I'm reading it slowly, not because I can't read, but because I need to wrap my brain around this. I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit first, Kendall. Hunter Henry and DeAndre Swift in my mind are of the 4.
The deal. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to keep them in, but like they're clearly the least valuable pieces when it comes to Tyler Warren and Ibuka. I mean, JSN is. I have to think Sam Darnold keeps this job. I know we were, this contract, and he could get out of Seattle could get out of the contract after. It was Josh Jacobs of quarterback contracts, right? It's a 3-year deal, but it's really a 1-year deal. I think Sam Darnold keeps his job, which means I think JSN is a locked and loaded top 12 wide receiver next year, probably top 10, potentially pushing in the top 5 if he has an outlier touchdown season. Right? Like, what is he right now? Is he tight end 4 or 5 on the season? I have to look. He is on the season. He's tight end 2. Excuse me, tight end.
That's Derrick Henry, I think.
Wide receiver.
Yep, good call there. It's
Derrick Henry.
Look at Prime. It's Derrick Henry, not.
Well, that makes it even stronger. That makes it even stronger, in my opinion, for the opposite side. Then,
which side do you like?
I like the JSN Bijan side a lot.
I do too.
Because in my mind, Swift, like okay, Derrick Henry, sure, Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, but like Derrick Henry's not getting another contract after Baltimore. This is the end. I think it's 2 years.
You look at in just next year, you can kind of. I'm not saying write Swift off. I'm just saying like he's down to like a third of value. Henry is down to a late second.
Where is Swift playing next year? Because here's what's going to happen in Chicago. You know this. Ben Johnson's going to go get his guy. He might keep Swift and try to replicate, a Gibbs and Monty situation, but Swift will be the Monty, not the Gibbs.
Yeah, he's capped. And
So
Caleb
he's
needs to get a
capped.
lot better still, too. Otherwise, that run game is never going to matter.
Right, which means Derrick Henry's got 2 years left, and if Lamar misses any more time, if Lamar's not healthy, like Derrick Henry's not been solid. He hasn't been the Derrick Henry we've seen for years and years and years. So I'm downgrading the Henry side of it. I'm downgrading the Swift side of it. JSN's the wide receiver 2 on the season. Bijan is, I think he's what is he? The RB? He's got to be the RB 1 or 2. No,
His
JT.
usage is just stupid. It's like
JT's the RB 1. He's
every
the RB
game
4.
he goes out and the entire team knows they got to guard one guy, and they still can't stop. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a landslide, but the JSN Bijan side is firmly where
stronger.
I want to be.
Yeah.
For sure. You have Kittle, so losing Warren is a lot easier when you have Kittle, who will still be around for
correct.
But there, and the rest of your team's nuts.
But the caveat is this. You know this. We all know this. Even when Andrews and Kittle were performing at their elite, tight end, worthy of a first-round redraft draft pick, their ceiling was still wide receiver 15. If they were an actual wide receiver, that's how many fantasy points they were scoring. So even though they were an outlier at the position, even though they were, worth a first, 1-2 turn pick, they were still turning in wide receiver 2 numbers. JSN is going to win you a league. Bijan is going to win you a league. Walker is a decent depth piece, and Debo is kind of take Debo out of this trade. I don't think it's a landslide. To your point, I think it's a solid trade, but I think there is more ceiling and there's more upside, because at the end of the day, we were talking about Ibuka earlier. We both said that JSN would be a little bit ahead of Ibuka. So consider that a wash. Bijan is far and away well ahead of Henry and Swift.
The rest of his team's loaded too, so I just want the upside, where in this case, the other guys they're less valuable than they would be because you have too much other good stuff on your bench, which waters them down a little bit. Good trade. I think you did nice with it. The last little caveat is, what if the Ravens lose 2 more games out of nowhere?
See ya.
Henry in week 16 and 17 on a title run is not where I want to be if that team has 6 wins.
He's not playing.
Yeah, that's a real big worrisome thing for me there. And I like Tyler Warren a lot, but let's also be real. This is JT's team, and there's going to be a lot of games where Warren is awesome, but if he doesn't catch a touchdown, he doesn't have to be like the guy. So like Warren, like we love Warren in Dynasty, but for redraft, he doesn't have to be like the guy every game.
No, I mean, I think if you look at, it's a redraft league. I think I was scrolling down these comments here. Good trade, GTS. You're all in. Gibbs is coming off the bye. He's on a bye this last week, so he's healthy, ready to rock and roll. You've got Bijan off a down week, but look, that's going to happen from time to time. But when you get your guys playoff time, Bijan, Gibbs, JSN, London, you're in a.
I don't want to play you for sure.
No, I'm glad I'm not in that league. So, all right, show ran long tonight, but this was awesome. I will. I don't know if he's listening or not, but shout out to my buddy who is texting me. I will feature your question on another show, even though it's a trade question. I just don't want to go because it'll take us 10 more minutes. So, but it's a good one. And
fun having the guys from the leagues. I feel like both of us knew. I think everyone in the chat here feels like we're actually just hanging out here. That's great. Super fun, man. We do.
If you're new to the show, make sure you can see the ticker on the bottom. Hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us. It helps the show, and of course gives us access to y'all, which means you can shoot us questions, trades, anything that you have questions on. We are here to answer. Next Tuesday, Kendall and I will be back. We will be breaking down the value of draft picks. So a little bit different than what's out there content-wise on the market, and certainly a little bit nuanced because it's our takes on what those picks are really worth. But tune in, because I think it's getting to be that time of the season where, you might have to make some decisions. Are you in the playoff position, or are you a guy who's maybe playing for next year? So we will talk you through values of those picks, what they're really worth, and hopefully you have some edge in your leagues as you start sending out those trade offers. So for all of us here at the Get Right Fantasy Network, for myself and Kendall here with the Extra Point, appreciate y'all hanging out with on a Tuesday night. We out.
Fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go